Hello, Children Heard and Seen. James Otley speaking. How can I help?
I've been told I can't get any support as I'm no longer with the father of my children, that they're suffering.
I'm looking after my grandchildren as their father killed their mother.
My son's trying to get himself arrested. He wants to get sent to prison so he can see his dad.
We've had to move 200 miles due to vigilantes, and now we have no support network.
My husband offended against me, and no one will come to court to support me.
I don't know if you can
My
help.
daughter is having nightmares. She thinks
I'm
the
really
police will
worried
come
because I
back
need
and
some
take
help
her
with
away.
explaining what my son's dad did.
Can you help? I'm worried my
A
son is
flipping
going
social
to
worker went and told him his dad was in prison for touching people.
My daughter's mum is in
And he's
prison,
now scared if he touches
and
someone,
she thinks
he'll be
she's
sent
the
to
only
prison.
one with
After
a
my
mum in
grandchildren.
My
Their
husband has just
father
been
killed
sentenced.
them.
My ex-boyfriend was on I'd been paid by a local paper. Social worker just told me to read it. No one has come to speak to me. Tell her what I need to do.
I'm just so scared to go back to our home.
My mum went to prison when I was 15. I was just about to sit my exams. I presumed this is when support services would step in. I wasn't open to children's services. Nobody came to support us. It was in the local newspaper. Our address, mum of 3 goes to prison, her name. So it was a really, really tough time for us.
My dad first went to jail when I was 10. Of course, that was like a hugely traumatic experience to happen to us as a family, kind of ripped our family apart. But what we didn't realise was it was the start of what was a life sentence for me and my brother and my mum. And me and my brother were just left to fend for ourselves, really. Like, for me, I had lots of, I guess, mental health problems and went off the rails because there was no one there to support us.
My dad went to prison when I was 7 years old. When my dad went to prison, it hit all the big newspapers, everybody knew. I was going to school and nobody was noticing changes in my behaviour, changes in my grades. Nobody picked up the bullying that I was suffering. There was absolutely no support.
As a young child, I experienced parental imprisonment. My father and my mother both spent some time in jail when I was very young. And then as an adult, when I had my own children, unfortunately their father ended up in prison and I'd done a short time as well. It was just an awful, awful time in our lives. And then Children Heard and Seen came along and made me believe that it wasn't my fault and it wasn't the children's fault.
Initially, when I set up Children Heard and Seen, what I was really concerned about was the statistic from a small piece of research about 65% of boys with a parent in prison went on to offend. So I thought that it would therefore be easy to be able to identify children and young people, that there would be some mechanism that someone would know who the children were. And I realised very quickly that we didn't know who the children and young people were that had a parent in prison. So with children with a parent in prison, Crest estimated there were 312,000, but that was an estimate. We don't actually know, yet we know how many Labradors are registered. And it seems a bit sad that we know more about Labradors than we do about children with a parent in prison.
Just identifying where are the kids that are in need so these kids don't slip through the net and end up taking their lives or end up in jail or ending up going off the rails, to make sure that they're not going unheard and unseen.
Most people are surprised when we say that there are children and young people living on their own without an adult in the family home. Last year, in 1 month alone, we had 5 lots of children living on their own. We had an incident of one young person who was 15. He wasn't living on his own for weeks, he was living on his own for months. There was no gas or electricity, it had been turned off, and he was getting up every day and going to school and pretending that there was somebody at home.
These children should be supported. It's not okay for a 15-year-old not to have a parent there and to be punished for what their parent has done. These children need support.
A quarter of the children we support at the moment are only in Oxfordshire, the rest are in the wider part of the country. But that is because there's lack of provision up and down the country for children based in their communities wanting support.
One of my favourite things about supporting Children Heard and Seen where I can is that I can come to their events and meet young people and families who've been affected but come in uniform. The more and more I saw of their work, the more I saw the benefit of supporting children when their parents go to prison, especially when police largely have a part to play within the arrest and investigation and prosecution of the individual. We're aware that it can cause harm, particularly with how children feel about the police and their trust in us, and Children Heard and Seen are there to support that, and that's the reason that I feel this model of supporting children in communities is so vital, and actually that's what needs to be more widely available. So I do get to see the actual support that children receive And really importantly, it absolutely makes a difference.
You're stigmatised. You are stigmatised as there being something wrong with you or your family because your dad or your mum did something wrong. No, that's their life and that was their choice, not mine. I was targeted, I wasn't invited around people's houses anymore. I lost pretty much all of my friends. And also teachers stigmatised me too because it was in the media. So it really, really did hit every single aspect of my life.
We have had children who have had concrete blocks through the window. They've had feces through the door. They have watched their mothers being assaulted for their father's offences. They've also been assaulted themselves. We've had WhatsApp groups at school that if my father did what your father did, I would kill myself. And then being badly assaulted and not being able to then return to school. We have had children and families that have had to move to other locations. They've had to change their names because families are associated with the parents offending that have nothing to do with them.
My friend's dad said that she shouldn't associate with me because my dad was in prison, and it made me feel very upset because I am not my dad and I didn't make any of the mistakes he did. Since being with Children Heard and Seen, I have recognised the fact that it's not my fault. They've basically just helped me understand and process how I feel in a supportive way where it's positive and it's not negative.
The support that we offer is wide-ranging. We have children that don't know their parents in prison, so we design crib sheets with age-appropriate language, offence time, so it's very individual. So the parent, carer, grandparent can actually explain to the child why the parent is in prison. We have supported over 850 children and only 4 have offended. But it isn't about them offending, it is about breaking that intergenerational harm.
For me, those years when he was in jail was really, really difficult, even to the point that I took an overdose once and tried to kill myself. And when I look back now on the amazing work that Children Heard and Seen is doing, it kind of makes me feel like, wow, I almost died, because of what I was going through, I couldn't cope. I didn't expect it to still make me emotional now.
The voice of the child is the most important thing to us here at Children Heard and Seen. So it isn't about the relationship with the parent inside, it's about the impact of that parent's offending on the child and trying to reduce the harm that the child has experienced and giving them a safe space to actually process everything that's happened. So actually later on in life, they're not 10, 15 years, 20 years down the line, are still revisiting that trauma.
I just thought I'd be forever living a life of crime, surrounded by people that are in jail. And now I know that we don't have to live that life anymore. And we can be good people and be part of a great community. One thing that really, really helped me was one of the workers took me out and she helped me apply for some jobs. And now, 4 years later, I'm in my 2nd year of university. And 5 years ago, I never believed that would be possible.
There needs to be more in place for children so they don't live throughout their adult lives carrying this trauma. People need to listen, there needs to be stuff in place. It shouldn't be up to charities, there should be statutory requirements for these children to be supported.
If I was looking back at myself, I'd say to her, you're going to be okay. But you shouldn't have had to go through all of that on your own. Somebody should have been there to help, to provide that safe space, that escape, that chance to sit down and be able to work through all of those emotions that you're going through, you know, to provide some help and some understanding. And, you know, to feel like you don't have to be an adult when you're 7. You should be a child. So yeah, I tell her, you're going to be just fine. But it's going to take a while to get there.
It isn't sustainable in terms of a charity picking it up. It needs to be going through either through schools' admissions that could be identified when you're choosing a school place, so it's self-disclosure. And schools are best placed in terms of universal services. Families that have a parent in the military are eligible towards pupil premium. We'd like to see something similar in terms of that with the children of the parent in prison. I love it that children are flourishing achieving their potential and just seeing the change that we can create by simple support for families.
If someone could have told us as a child, you're not bad, this isn't your fault, this shouldn't be happening to you, that could have been life-changing for us as a family.
Change needs to happen. We need to break that cycle. You need early intervention because a child, no matter what age, needs support when their parent goes to prison.